Hey, so this is Carlisle's Picks, and today we're going to talk about the new quadcopter from DJI, the DJI Spark, which some people may think is just a mini Mavic, but it's absolutely not a mini Mavic, and this is absolutely not the controller that it comes with, because it doesn't come with the controller. That is separate. Yes, $150. We're going to talk about that and much, much more. So the Spark is basically a new UAV. It's a remote control helicopter made by DJI, and it comes in at around $500 or $499. It's much smaller than the Mavic, and I'm going to give you guys a comparison between the Spark versus the Mavic. Should you get the Spark? Should you get the Mavic? I can't tell you, but I can certainly tell you the differences between the two. So let's get right into it. So the first thing you're going to look at when you're considering the Spark versus Mavic, obviously size. Mavic is much bigger than the Spark. However, it's also considerably smaller. Whoa. How can the Mavic be smaller and larger at the same time? Well, here's the deal. When the Mavic is folded up, it actually makes the Spark look a little bit chubby. That's because the Spark is fixed. You cannot fold it like you can the DJI Mavic. So a little bit of a difference there. Also, there is a considerable weight difference between the two. So let's talk about the weight difference between the Mavic and the Spark. DJI Spark weighs in at 0.66 pounds or 300 grams. That is compared to the DJI Mavic weighing much more at 1.62 pounds. So that's 1.6 pounds, 1.62 pounds for the DJI Mavic, which is about 734 grams. So considerable weight difference. So video quality doesn't really match the price difference. You have a $500 quadcopter, and then you also have the $999 or $1,000 remote control helicopter, the DJI Mavic. The quality difference is not that much difference because the sensors are the same sizes. However, the DJI Mavic owns 4K. So you get 4K video from the Mavic when the Spark is actually stuck at 1080p as far as its highest quality. Now the Mavic records 4K at 30 frames per second. And photo at 12.71 megapixels. The Spark has a 2-axis gimbal for stabilizing your shots, whereas the Mavic actually has a 3-axis gimbal. So again, the Mavic being much more advanced. Now moving on, you have also the same sensor size, which I mentioned already. Also, as far as for low light, the Mavic is again the champion. And of course, you're going to see a lot of things that the Mavic is better at. It costs much more money. It's a higher end quadcopter, so it's gonna have better features. But specifically, the Mavic has a 2.2 aperture on the lens. The Spark has a 2.6 aperture, so that means that the Mavic is going to be a little bit better in low light. Now 2.2 versus 2.6 is not a massive difference, but it's certainly worth mentioning, and it's something that you're going to certainly see a difference of when you're doing your videos, shooting at low light with the Spark versus low light with the Mavic. Now the max video bitrate so that's kind of like how much video information the camera system captures or can handle. Obviously, the more video information, the more data you can handle. That means more details in terms of pixels and color and all that kind of stuff. So much different. There's a huge divide between the Spark and the Mavic. The Spark has a spark of a data rate of 24 megabits per second, while the DJI Mavic is way up to 60 megabits per second. So the Mavic can handle a lot more video information, therefore a lot more quality, a lot more image. However, I guess a lot of that probably goes to the 4K mode, because shooting 10K in the Mavic versus the Spark is probably not going to be that much different for the most part, unless you're doing things like maybe color correction or green screen, but I don't think anyone will be doing any green screen videos with their Spark footage, or frankly, even their Mavic footage. But you never know what kind of creative possibilities may yet be thought of. So as far as flight time, the Spark is going to give you 16 minutes. Now with the DJI Mavic, you're going to get much more time, 27 minutes on the DJI Mavic. Of course, a lot of factors you have to consider. If you have you can get the protectors for the rotors. If you get that, that's going to add weight and drag. That's going to limit your battery life as well. Also the temperature, the air temperature, and also if there's any kind of wind going on, you have to consider those factors as well. So if we look at the differences in the batteries, the Spark actually has a 1480 milliamp hour battery versus the Mavic. I always want to say Maverick. The Mavic has a 3830 milliamp hour battery. So bigger battery, more battery life, obviously, but also it's much heavier than the Spark. Now the Spark has a charge dock, which is kind of convenient. So you can actually take the Spark and just put the whole thing into the dock to charge it up. Very convenient, very nice. Mavic, on the other hand, you actually have to remove the battery to actually charge it up. Small detail, but when you consider the market that the Spark is for, and I'm going to cover that in another video. You definitely want to stay tuned for that and subscribe. Click on that notifier icon to get notified about videos. But moving on, the flight modes on the Mavic. So Mavic has a lot of really cool flight modes. You've got things like active track, tap fly, terrain follow.
Active track modes are ready to make you shoot like a pro. Want to be on camera, not behind it? It just takes a wave and a gesture.
And the Spark, it doesn't cost as much as the Mavic, so it actually has all those modes as well. Yes, the Spark has all those advanced flight modes. However, it has even more. There's some new gesture modes that they have designed for the Spark. So it's got some kind of cutting edge new types of modes where, for example, you can control the quadcopter with your hand. So you can use your hand as a remote control. So you can actually use gestures to tell it to fly up, to fly down. I believe there's a land on your hand option as well. So it's pretty cool. Now, to use those features, you are limited to a very, very small range. If you want to fly beyond that range, you'd have to use either your cell phone, your smartphone, or buy the additional remote, which again does not come with the remote. The remote is something that you have to get separately, and I think there's actually a good reason why they did it that way, and I'll explain that in a future video, which you'll definitely not want to miss out on. So the Spark also has a rocket mode, which it'll fly up with the camera pointing downward. It's got a droney mode where it flies backwards and upwards, and then the camera is locked onto you. And then you also have circle mode, which keeps you locked in the center of the frame as the Spark is going to automatically fly around you. You also have helix, which is very, very impressive, because helix basically starts close to you, and then it starts to fly up and away, up and away and around. It circles, but the circles actually, it's a spiral, so it actually gets wider and wider and wider. So like, let's say it's going like this, it'll go like this, and then that, and that. Now to do that manually is very, very difficult. So to have it do that automatically, pretty cool. That is absolutely pretty cool. So those are the various flight modes. Now let's talk about the transmission distance. How far? What is your range? So the Spark can travel up to 1.2 miles. That's pretty good. 1.2 miles for a $500 mini quadcopter. However, good luck getting a quarter mile to half a mile in reality. Getting that maximum 1.2 is like in perfect conditions. You got any kind of interference at all, which you're gonna have interference. Especially you're in a city or something like that, you're gonna have interference. So with that, you're probably gonna get quarter mile to half a mile. But if you live in the middle of the desert, you can get 1.2 miles. Anyway, the Mavic, on the other hand, will give you 4.3 miles, which is a much more range, and this is thanks to the OcuSync technology. And in the real world, you're not going to get that much range. You probably, it depends, 3 miles, 2.5 miles. It really depends on where you are, how much interference there is. But it is capable of doing up to 4.3 miles, which is pretty impressive. So that is the range difference. Again, the sensors are the same size on both of the quadcopters. Beyond that, let's talk about the object avoidance system. So both of them have object avoidance systems, but the Mavic system is much more advanced than that on the Spark. So the Spark basically is limited significantly by speed. I think it's 6.7 miles is how fast it can go and actually track objects to avoid crashing into them. Meanwhile, the Mavic can go up to 22 miles per hour as far as the obstacle avoidance. You can go 22 miles per hour with the Mavic and have it at that speed still track objects and avoid them, which is pretty cool.
It can avoid the things in its path, from trees to walls.
So as far as the range that it actually tracks, the Mavic actually tracks, I think, about 40, I don't remember. But let's just say the Mavic tracks a lot more range than the Spark does. So the Spark is coming in at $499, for the Spark. That's the basic package. And then you have the controller, again, is separate, about $150 for that additional. Good reason for that, I think. You may agree, disagree, but stay tuned for my next video where I'll talk about that. Definitely subscribe for that. I think the remote comes in a Fly More combo. Now the Mavic standard package is going to be $999. Now the Fly More, I think it's like $1,200 or something like that, $1,100, $1,200, somewhere around there. But anyway, the bottom line is the Spark is awesome for its size, and it's awesome to have this price point. It's awesome to have all of those really advanced flight modes that the Mavic has in its very, very small package, even though the Mavic is smaller folded up. But who cares about that? Well, I guess that's storage, right? So with that being said, I think the Spark is really designed for a different customer than what the Mavic is designed for. That's why you have the price difference, and that's why a lot of things about how the Spark is designed, the fact it doesn't come with a remote control, very, very different audience. But I will talk a little bit more about that in the future. You don't want to miss out on that. Also, this entire video review of the DJI Spark was shot on my new Galaxy S8. I'm doing a review on it right now. I'm about to post it up pretty soon. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. Awesome phone, very powerful, great screen, great battery life. However, there are some quirks. Oh, there are quirks. So do I love it? Do I hate it? Well, I guess you'll have to subscribe to find out, and stay tuned for my full review. You are watching Carlisle's Picks, and this has been a review of the new DJI Spark. And until the next episode, thanks for watching.